Hello, everybody. I am BJ Williams. I am making this "Can I Be Vulnerable" video for me, to be honest with you. It's my own selfish reasons, but my hope for it is whoever's out there watching it, find somebody that they can be vulnerable with as well. I've been wanting to do this for a minute, just didn't know how, and it finally hit me a couple weeks ago. So it's just a grown black man being vulnerable with a few things in his life. So here we go. So what led me to therapy? There's a few points that I can start at, but I think I'll start at the day that I decided that I needed individual therapy. I was actually in couples therapy with my girlfriend at the time, and couples therapy was going well as it could, but it was then that I realized, like, yo, ultimately this is not going to work because I have healing to do individually, and there's no way in hell that I would ever be able to be in this fully, happily, with all my tools if I don't go heal over here. And so one day it just hit me, and I was like, yeah, I gotta go. And so I left that relationship, and like a week later, I was in individual therapy. Back that up, my older brother committed suicide. Memorial Day 4 years ago. And suicide is, you know, finding out a family member committed suicide is one thing. Being on the phone with that person for 2 hours, telling them it's going to be all right, is a totally different thing. And I've been in some pressured situations, but I don't think you don't know pressure until you're trying to, what you think is saving somebody's life. And that was my catalyst. I've had a funeral to go to every year since 1998. It's a lot of death. And my girlfriend at the time said, you know what, BJ, death follows you. And it's a very scary thing. I don't know what to do about that. I've never been to war. I don't do drugs. I don't deal drugs. I don't gang bang. I don't live a violent lifestyle. And some of the people that have passed, it's been nature, it's been natural, it's been, you know, old age, and I can deal with that. You've lived a full life. I'm not mad at that. Some of it has been tragic. I've had a few people commit suicide accidentally. I've had people die violently. I've had people, some have been close family, close friends. Some have been slightly distant family, and other people that I knew really well. It's been, so death was, and death is the reason why I'm so defensive. I let people in, and if you get too close, I'll kick you out. And it's just my defense mechanism. And so what I thought I was doing is like, all right, I thought that I was handling these losses pretty well. Like, you know, someone died, I'd cry for sure. But then I'm like, yeah, all right, life goes on, X, Y, and Z. I thought that I was dealing with it pretty well. I was always had outlets. I had sports, you know, I played college ball, ran college track. So I always had some kind of outlet, but that's physical. I didn't necessarily deal with it emotionally or as mentally as well as I thought I could. And speaking of sports, concussions. It's a huge thing now, but I remember waking up not remembering a lot of stuff. And now I get absent-minded. I forget things. Like it'll just be the most random thing. And it scares me. And so with therapy, it's an ability to, so I got into therapy because of that. You know, my mom died when I was 16. She just had a stroke one day. I mean, that's just what happened. She was an alcoholic, so she was slowly killing herself anyway. And as a adolescent boy, I don't really know much about that. Like, I don't know how to help. I don't know how to help her get help, you know. And for a long time, grown up BJ had a hard time forgiving adolescent BJ for something he had no control over. I felt like I could help. Or I felt like I should have been enough for her to help herself. And I didn't understand how addiction works. I didn't understand how alcoholism works. I didn't understand how it can be a drug. until a few years ago when I got into therapy. So those things led me to seeking out a therapist. And it's been dope ever since, man. It's been hard. It's not easy, but it works. How has healing impacted my relationship with others? I've I've lost some people. Let me say I've actually stepped away from some people. Not because they were toxic for me, but because I was somewhat toxic to them, and I wasn't given my full, and this is friendships and relationships. And so in my healing, I've realized in one relationship specifically that it would never work until I got healed. So I had to walk away from that. She was a dope person, but it would have never worked. It had gotten worse. It would have gotten worse and worse. And so I've walked away from some people that I was not being given my all to. And that, like I said, that's some friendships and that's some relationships as well. So in that manner, that's what healing has done. At the same time, on the other hand, it's strengthened my relationship with other people in my life that have just strengthened some relationships in others. That's all.
What are your weaknesses? What are you still in development?
I'm extremely defensive. And I only just recognized this like recently. My defense system, my defense mechanism it's not purposeful. It's a reaction to events in my life. Just like anything else. We've all gone through something, and we choose different ways to cope with it or to defend ourselves, because as human beings, we're taught to keep ourselves safe. That's just innate. So I'm extremely defensive, and to me, that's a weakness. I don't have to be defensive. Well, let me take this back. Keep your defense up, but let there be a bridge or a door to let some folks in that mean you no harm, or once they're in, keep them.
Okay, so you've been pretty vulnerable thus far. What now?
Hopefully somebody sees it and they find somebody they can be vulnerable with. So yeah, I've been vulnerable up until this point, and what now is whoever's out there watching it, you guys find somebody. I want you guys, I hope you guys would seek therapy. If you can't afford it, there's plenty of free options. There's group counseling. There's 1-800 numbers. There's online stuff. There's church groups that, not necessarily the religious aspect of it, but there is a counseling aspect to it that you can seek. So there's plenty of options. Students, you can go to your school counselor. They also have outside sources as well. So what now is that hopefully somebody sees it and says, you know what, he did it, and I'm gonna do it too. You don't have to post it. Don't make a video. This is not even why I'm doing this video. I'm doing this video because this is something that I've wanted to do. But I'm not saying once you do it, go make a video. If you want to, by all means, share. But if you don't, you don't have to. It's your own personal journey, so do it personally.